segue to the reason that Donald Trump is leading in the polls right now, which is Joe Biden. We'll pivot to the Democrats. We had a primary in Michigan. Over 100,000 people went out to vote uncommitted and not vote for Joe Biden, even though he's the only candidate for the Democrats, which was Michigan has a large number of Muslim and Arab voters in it. So this was their message to, could you stop blowing up our family members? Or, you can't have our unconditional support, even though we don't like Trump either. It wasn't a vote for Trump. They didn't go out and vote in the Republican primary for Trump, but they're begging the Democrats to make a policy change, which would, help him beat Trump. Because I would rather not throw the country away for Israeli politics and throw our country away and our democracy to give it to Trump over Benjamin Netanyahu and his genocide campaign. So again, I think it goes back to this was a big issue on CNN last night as well when they were covering this primary, because they couldn't understand why these issues are linked. Like, you're probably wondering why I'm talking about Gaza every week when we have these domestic problems, because this specific issue is making Biden extremely vulnerable in the swing states that he needs to win to be president. So we do not have a Donald Trump presidency. I talk a lot about Biden, but I talk about Biden because I want him to win. I want him to win if he's running. Whoever's running against Trump, I would prefer them to win. So, and for Biden to win, he has to listen to his voters, which he is refusing to do, which is the whole thing in Michigan. 100,000 people coming out to protest vote you is not a small number in a state that you need to win by a very narrow margin. So but to put that in perspective, back in the 2012 primary, whatever, that would have beaten Obama, just the uncommitted votes in Michigan. And Biden lost counties to uncommitted, like landslided in certain counties that had high Arab voters. So the issue with Gaza needs to change, not just because it's an awful genocide and for moral reasons, but it's going to directly lead to the vulnerabilities in the states that Biden needs to win in order for us to not deal with the president or King Trump for the next God knows how many years, which I don't think anybody, one of us or anybody in the Black community or anybody else wants to see. So that is what the pleading is for Biden. It's not just because people uniquely hate Biden. It's because he is uniquely vulnerable and they would like to see a candidate who draws a bigger distinction between the two. Another great example is Biden licking ice cream, talking about there's going to be a ceasefire next Monday. Cool, that's great, even though not the greatest optics. But then immediately Israel and Hamas say they don't know what the hell he's talking about. Like, we're not close to anything. What is I don't know what that's about. And then his State Department immediately walking back his comments. Basically, it's like, oh, he didn't, just another Biden gaffe. Don't worry about, like, that's not helping right now in a situation where you're bleeding support right now in a very crucial time where, again, if all of democracy is on the line, I would like to see a stronger defense than Joe Biden. That is just where we're at. And again, it's not just me. You can ask the voters of Michigan. You can ask a live active duty serviceman who incinerated himself live on the streets of DC in broad daylight this week in protest of what his military is doing as an active duty service member to do the most extreme form of protest that I haven't seen. I haven't even heard of since the Vietnam War, when monks were doing that to protest the war and setting themselves on fire. But we had an active duty military serviceman do that and scream "Free Palestine" until his last breath as he burned in front of the Israeli embassy, which forced the news to cover it because he's a white active duty serviceman in broad daylight in DC. And again, to force the media to cover, like, this is a bigger issue than I think a lot of people are making it out to be. And it's going to have ripple effects that hit us domestically that I think people are overlooking right now. So that is another reason why the calls for a ceasefire and for us to stop using our tax dollars to blow up children is an issue that could directly lead to a Donald Trump presidency. So I don't know if anybody wants to chime in on that. I think I'll add is what Mr. Spivey was saying earlier about Biden having the choice to either denounce Netanyahu or go down. Either way, I think him denouncing Netanyahu and cutting off money would be a death sentence, but not for Jewish people, because a lot of Jewish people also don't like Netanyahu. He's not even popular within Israel. It would be a death sentence for the Jewish lobby and the AIPAC money that he and his party has collected for decades and has corrupted both parties, why they all have the position of support Israel no matter what, even if they're doing a genocide recognized by the entire rest of the world. So I think Biden just listening to the will of his voters, which what I thought was a job of the democracy, what we're supposed to be in, would just be the right thing. And also, if you're going to go down either way, why not go down with the moral position? If you're going to go down anyway, why don't you go down with the position of I'm against bombing innocent women and children? If you feel like you're it's lost anyway, I think the right thing would to do would to go down swinging with the right moral position, being on the right side of history. But having said that, also I'm just going to leave it with the active service member I was talking about. His name was Aaron Bushnell, and his last post was, "Many of us would ask ourselves, what would I do if I was alive during slavery or Jim Crow or apartheid, or what would I do if my country was committing genocide?" The answer is you're doing it right now, because this is a full on Nazi level genocide. There's been just an uncounted tens of thousands of children have been slaughtered. Half of Gaza is children. 50% of Gaza completely is children. So you look at all those death numbers, keep that in mind. And that is something to keep in mind. A lot of people are trying to look away, and obviously, and I get it, like that's not something you want to focus on. I want to focus on sports and light stuff and movies and fun, but it's really hard to look away because those people in Gaza don't get to go to a sports game. They don't get the chance to go watch a movie. They're getting blown up right now. They're looking for food and fresh water, and that's sponsored by the US of A. So again, there's limited things that we can do over here for sure. Not like we go over there and fully, but we have to do everything that we can do to at least let our political class know and the rest of the world, because there's going to be unprecedented blowback for this massacre. All these thousands of people, whole families and bloodlines ended. Do you think there won't be retribution for not only Israel but for us and our leaders and our military? So that's something else to wonder about this. And again, I don't want Lord Emperor Trump either, which is why I would like to see a policy change and reversal so that that is much less likely.